And good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we get ready for knockout qualifying for our 9th race of the season here for the NNSCRA Hersheys Cup Series Season 2. We are at the high banks of Talladega Super Speedway, getting ready to find out who's going to be able to turn the fastest lap. And this is one of the tracks that a lot of drivers like to come to because this track, really, it's not as much of who has the faster car, it's of who's able to control the draft, use the draft to be able to get the fastest lap. It's quite honestly a qualifying session of manipulation, both of the other drivers on track as well as the draft itself. And so we'll see who's going to be able to come out on top here. We're going to be doing our usual coin flip, in which heads will mean that 4 drivers transfer from Heat 1, but if we get tails, 4 drivers transfer from Heat 2, and as thus only 3 drivers transfer from the other heat. So take and flip the coin. My dog just stopped it, and it landed on tails. Good job, Duncan. So according to Duncan, tails was the coin flip, and that means that 4 drivers will transfer from heat number 2, 3 drivers will transfer from this heat number 1, and we're looking at the 9 of Jordan Lopez out of Richard Petty Motorsports, and Lopez should this time around now be on the clock to put down his first green flag lap. The big key here at Talladega is to come out with a group of other race cars. That's going to help you produce enough, produce more speed than it would with a single car, as that's what Jordan Lopez is doing right now, but maybe he'd be able to get the draft off of maybe Colin Denton, who's merging up ahead in the 20. Once we see the first official lap time laid down here by the first car on track, the 9 of Jordan Lopez, we will look back through the field and see if anybody's been able to start bunching up into groups, because that's where the speed's going to be, and more than likely that's where your transfer drivers are going to be. As through the tri-oval, Jordan Lopez, let's see what his first official lap time in this qualifying session will be, and it will be 52.442 for Jordan Lopez. Is Chris Dollerton right there. He's going to be able to get together with Kev Shearer, a couple of rookies there. Well, and we'll see what they can do. Here's a group. Matthew Dallio. Whoa! Matthew Dallio, John Andrews, and Matt McIntyre. And Andrews and Dallio nearly rubbed doors. Matter of fact, I think they did rub doors, to be perfectly honest. Mitchell Carter back here. There's O'Neill Balvin, former pole sitter at Talladega last season. Jeremy Jones just got by him. There's the 27 of Joshua Osborne. 29 car of, I've just lost the name. Pretty sure it's Elijah Gordon. Yeah, it is. Okay. I was right. Sorry, it's been about a week and a half since I recorded the last race of the Mud Summer Classic, so I'm kind of getting back into the groove of things here. Garrett Sidner, Nick Johnson. Here's a group that maybe could do something. We got 2-car tandems going on here. Hergel, Alonso, Dougie Shears, and behind them, Italia Salinas and Kermika Jazin. These 4 could actually be fighting for the top spots on the speed charts here with about 55 seconds remaining. Let's see if any of them jump up to the top of the leaderboard. And yes, they do. With Jazin, Salinas, and Shears right now, Hergel Alonso, who's leading this group, is right now 4th and would not transfer at this point by 3 1/1000ths. But they still have another lap they could probably get in before time runs out. So this is the group right here that I mentioned. You got to get bunched up. This is a group that can produce speed, but I also noticed another group behind them here with Amaury Studemeyer as well as Andrew Davis, Colin Denton, and Daniel Gilbert. They could produce some speed here. So it could come between this group and the other group. Uh-oh, they're getting held up there by Nick Johnson. Are they going to have time to cross the line and still be in the top 3? Cross the stripe. And Alonso jumped up to 3rd, but what about this group? Can anybody challenge for a spot in the top 3? No, not quite. The fastest in this group was Studemeyer, and he was in 6th. Gilbert was 7th, Denton in 9th, and Andrew Davis was 10th. So right now, it would be Jazin, Salinas, and Alonso. Oh, and I think Alonso thinks he's good enough to go there to transfer. He looks like going to be coming to pit road. No, apparently not. Some drivers are running that high line there. And let's see, 7, 6. They've got time to cross the line and try something. Jeremy Jones just jumped up to 3rd, knocking Herschel Alonso out at the last second. Did anybody from this group produce enough speed? No, they did not. Where in the world is Jeremy Jones? Where did he get that lap time from? Oh, there he is. He's in this group. And it looks like he's going to transfer in. It's like, yeah, with 10 seconds remaining, I think scoring loops have been no longer counted, and it looks like it's going to be Carmichael Jazin, Natalia Salinas, and Jeremy Jones who will be the transferees, and indeed that will be the case as the session comes to a close.
Drivers, to your car.
So, I believe Jeremy Jones actually made his first race of the year last week at Eldora. Natalia Salinas, I believe this is her second start of the season. And Carmichael Jazin, I believe this might be his second start of the season as well. So how about that? Herschel Alonso just barely missing out. Was 2/10 slower than Jeremy Jones. So Jeremy Jones was actually in the middle of a single car formation, but actually was able to be the fastest one. And just missing out on making the main event, Herschel Alonso, Joshua Osborne, Uno Balvin, Dougie Shears, Amor Studemeyer, Daniel Gilbert, Colin Denton, all the way on down through to, you can see some drivers here who were actually in some single car runs and couldn't get into a group like Jordan Lopez and Stephen Pollard III, Matthew Dalios. So, tough break for them. They will not make the race. They'll have to wait until next week to try and qualify. But it's time to find out now what 4 drivers will transfer from heat number 2. Coverage of that's coming up right now. Well, we now know 3 drivers that will be racing here at Talladega, and another reason why these drivers really want to qualify for this race is because Talladega Superspeedway is one of those tracks where it almost like puts everybody on an even playing field. Doesn't matter if you're a chartered ride, non-chartered ride. Everybody seems to really have an equal chance. Track position doesn't exactly mean a whole lot unless you're trying to put yourself in position to avoid the big one if and when it happens. But aside from that, we've seen drivers before at Talladega, at Daytona, whatever super speedway track you want to throw into the hat, you're able to work your way from the rear of the field up to the front. So that's one reason why drivers really, really want to make these super speedway races, because it gives them such an opportunity. I mean, look back at the story of Tripantacchio Vernio last season. Ended up making his very first career race. Where was it? It was at a super speedway. And he went on to win that race in his very first start in the Hersheys Cup Series. So that just shows you right there that a rookie, only making his debut, was able to best veterans who had started every race that season, as well as the season before. But it was an even playing field. It was a place where it's equal opportunity at a super speedway. So it just shows the importance of drivers wanting to make these super speedway races. As we're looking here at James McLeod in the 51. James McLeod, former outside pole sitter of the Daytona 500. That was back in Season 2. So we know that Tweenix Racing puts together pretty good restrictor plate programs. Right now, I think his goal is to try and find some friends. The AccuDoc Solutions Chevrolet running all by his lonesome on the racetrack right now. And let's see what he lays down for a first official lap time. I think it was a 42.644 was the official lap time in the first session. And in this one, it is a, 51.304. So a fast first lap for James McLeod, especially being a single race car. Going by Ryan George, and just up ahead there is William Duncan, Daniel Olson just behind. So now it looks like James McLeod will be able to merge with a couple of people, and we'll see if that helps to improve his lap times at all. Got a group of cars right here who talked about Tripentacchio there he is, along with DJ Curtis and Isaac Canepa. So these three might be able to group up, make some speed, and they've got a couple of other drivers behind them that are trying to catch up. Chelsea Bowles, who hasn't made a start since the last restrictor plate race of the Daytona 500, and Jay Jefferson trying to make his first start in the Hersheys Cup Series main event. They're about to catch up to Elijah Gilbert. Gilbert made his first start last week at Eldora. Sean Henley, another Twinix Racing driver, just up ahead. There's Johnny Gardner as well in the 96. James Qualls, Lyndon Wright, we haven't seen him in a main event since the 500. Jonathan Zorlin still looking for his first start of the season. Jason Haywood here with Pichu London and Cody Hagan. Cole Deaver all by his lonesome. Same for Zachary Stoltz, so not good for either of them if they're going to try and make their way into the field. John Bunnell and John Cittadino. Daniel Olson has lost touch here with McLeod, Duncan, and George. They are nose to tail. And they are top of the leaderboard. George to the top, Duncan to second, and McLeod up to fourth. All right now in transfer positions. Isaac Canepa, the lone man there in the third position with a 48.925. Right now it would be George, Duncan, Canepa, and McLeod who would transfer into the main event if things stay the way they are. I would watch out right here for Vernio, Curtis, Elijah Gilbert. I think this group could produce some pretty good speed here if they could remain single file. And we may see the 77 or the 80 jump up into the top four right here. Let's see. Yep, DJ up to second. And Vernio jumped up to fourth. Gilbert jumped up to seventh place as now they encounter the Sean Henley machine. And Henley maybe can utilize the draft here. Well, actually, time is very quickly running out, as McLeod just jumped up to second on the score charts. Henley's got to put down a pretty fast lap time here. He may have enough time for one more lap around, but I almost doubt it. Right now, Ryan George, top of the leaderboard, then McLeod, then Duncan, then Curtis. Two of those drivers looking to, or I think it's two of those drivers looking to make their first starts of the season. McLeod, I don't think, has made a start yet, and DJ Curtis looking to make his first start of his Hersheys Cup Series career. And he's top of the leaderboard, 48.558. Curtis, Vernio, George, and McLeod, and now Duncan jumps back up into the third spot, taking Ryan George from top of the leaderboard all the way out to an eliminated position. And zeros are now on the clock with 30 seconds to go, and I don't think that they're going to be scored this time around anymore. It looks like it's going to be Curtis making his debut in a Hersheys Cup Series race. Tripentacchio, Vernio, William Duncan, and James McLeod. Looks like they will be the four transfer drivers. Let's see if they get scored at all here, crossing the line this time with 3 seconds remaining. Did anyone get scored? No, they did not. That's it. Session's over. And DJ Curtis, how about that? He's been close so many times by mere seconds.
To your car.
Each session has been so close on making his debut, but today it will become a reality this weekend as he will be making his first start in the Hersheys Cup Series. So Tripentacchio Vernio, he'll be in the main event along with William Duncan and James McLeod. How about Ryan George? What a difference a couple of seconds make. He was the fastest car until we had that last session around, that last couple of laps, and dropped all the way down to fifth, and as a result will not start this week's race. Isaac Canepa, Elijah Gilbert, Jason Haywood, Cody Hagan, Pichu London close as well, but they will not be starting this race either. And all the way down, you can see a lot of drivers who had the misfortune of getting stuck out there by themselves again. Lyndon Wright, Johnny Gardner, Zachary Stoltz, James Qualls, and Cole Deaver. So they will not be making this race either. So we have our 7 drivers who transfer into the main event here for this week's race at Talladega. We still have a lot to come here at this racetrack, including our Almond Joy Series race. That'll be coming up next, and then the Hersheys Cup Series race. And who knows, we could end up seeing yet another driver put their name into the hat for a potential spot in this season's Hersheys Cup Series chase for the championship. But until then, I'm Seth Cole signing off. Thanks for tuning in for this knockout qualifying session, and we'll see you guys as the Talladega race weekend continues on here on the NNSCRA Sports Channel Offline Racing at its best.